So I spent the last 3 weeks testing out Figma Weave, Magnific, and Wireflow with my team to see which platform would be the best for us to use for our real client work. So I've run a creative agency making ad content for e-commerce brands for over a year now. And for the last 3 weeks, I've been testing 3 platforms, Figma Weave, Magnific, and Wireflow on real client work. And in this video, I'll break down everything I found from actually using them, and then I'll walk you through each platform one by one. I'll also build a real workflow live that takes a client brief and turns it into finished assets. And then I'll share the real problems I ran into with each one, and I'll include the workflow links so you can follow along and try it yourself. So if you've never used an AI creative workflow canvas, I'm just going to quickly explain what they are and why they're powerful. So a chat usually makes one image at a time, and then you have to start again for the new one. So that's the old way with ChatGPT, and there's just a chat-based kind of image and video tools. Whereas a canvas can chain models into a pipeline instead, and then the prompt feeds an image model, that image model feeds a video model, and then the whole thing becomes an asset that you can rerun. On the screenshot, you can see that there's 3 parts. So you have the nodes, the wire, and then the output. And you can see here we have a prompt node that goes into an image node that goes into a video node. And you can just rerun this constantly with new prompts, new images, and then at the end you can share it with your team, and then they can come in and iterate on it, and it just becomes an asset that you can keep rerunning and using. So that's pretty much the entire mental model. And client work is repeatable by nature, which is exactly why these tools matter for an agency. So what changed in 2026? Firstly, Weavy got rebranded to Figma Weave after getting bought out by Figma, and Magnific rebranded from Freepik Spaces after pivoting from being a stock image site into an AI tool site. So I've retested all of these 3 tools this month after their rebrands. All 3 run the same models underneath, which means running Seedance 2.0 is going to be the same across all 3. So I'm not going to be judging based on the model's outputs quality. I'm going to be judging on which one supports my creative workflow the best. The other key thing that changed this year was that some platforms can now be run by your agents. Magnific has a basic API endpoint where you can generate images and videos, and Wireflow has an extensive API endpoint that supports editing, creating, and executing workflows. So to give each platform a fair test, we're going to run the exact same client brief through each of them. It's essentially a skincare brand launching their first serum. The deliverables are right here on the belt. So we're going to have 3 product images, 3 motion clips, and then 1 finished 15-second vertical cut edited from these clips. Then we're going to go through and see how well each platform handles it, how much manual work we have to actually do to get each of these deliverable assets, and then how well they work with an agent kind of leading the way. All right, so before we jump straight into the tools, I'm going to show you how I handle kind of using the brief in a Claude code repo in order to create the prompts and then inject them into the workflow and create the workflow themselves. So this is the brief. So it's a serum shoot, where we're at basic brief, what we need: 3 product images, 3 short video clips, 1 finished 15-second UGC style ad. Feels like a real customer talking about the serum, and then they want to go, something that's actually working on TikTok right now, so strong hook, and then natural, unpolished, and then they go into look and feel, the specs, and the dates. And then, so when I get a brief like this, I'll usually just drop it into my brief section in my Claude code here. And in this Claude code, I actually have my brand markdown document. So this is my creative direction, my prompt style, and then my voice. And then up here, we have a few Claude skills that help me translate all this information from a single brief into prompts, and then for Wireflow directly into an actual workflow. All right, so I'm going to start jumping into the live workflows now. And first up, we have Figma Weave. The good thing about Figma Weave is that it shows you the credit costs of each run before you hit run, which is nice to have. But most platforms do have that these days. Secondly, video runs are 120 credits each. And actually, all the video models on Figma Weave are the most expensive out of any platform that I've tested. So you're going to really be paying a lot for your videos and your images on Figma Weave. And then thirdly, this one's going to slow us down a lot, and it's that they have no API yet. And they've stated like 6 months ago that that's in development, but there's still been no progress on that. And I think that they're only giving that access to large enterprise teams. All right, so I created a new project in Figma Weave, and you just start with a blank canvas, so they don't give you much to start with really. And then on the left here, you can click on this and you can kind of see through all the different node types that they have. So To start off, I'm just going to be dragging in a prompt node and then import node. And then as we go back and forth with Claude Code, we'll be expanding this workflow. But I don't like to write the prompts myself because I'd rather have Opus 4.8 or Fable 5 kind of running as my creative director and then writing all my prompts so that I can get a more consistent output. So the next step is to bring in our reference image from the brief. So I'm just going to click on this import node and then upload my reference image that they gave me in the brief. And then we're going to take this reference image from the green line and drag and drop it into the open. And then I'm just going to use Nano Banana Pro for this example here. And you can see down the bottom right, you can see this costs 11 credits. So one run of Nano Banana Pro is going to cost us 11 credits. And so I'm just going to drag and drop this 3 times because we want 3 image assets. So I'm going to do one more, Pro. All right, so that reference image is now getting fed into 3 separate Nano Banana Pro nodes there. And then now we just need to have 3 prompts going into each of these as well. So I'm going to drag this, I'm going to grab this prompt box and then copy paste it. I'm just control Cing and then control Ving on this node here. And then now we're just going to move this up here and connect each of these prompts to one of the Nano Banana Pro boxes there. And now we need to get the actual prompts for these. So I'm just going to go back into Claude Code and then just type in, can you please generate me the image prompts for the first 3 image product image assets. So our Claude Code just finished up and you can see that it's gone through a bunch of steps to find out the perfect prompts for us. So first it read the brief to prompt skill, then you can see that it's found the client that we're talking about. And then just here, you can see it's given us all 3 prompts. So we have the hero shot. I'm just going to copy this one, bring it into here, paste it there. Then I'm going to grab this one, bring it in, and then the third one. All right, so I pasted all 3 prompts, and then I'm just going to click run on all of these as well. Nano Banana Pro just finished up, and it took about 20 seconds, and you can see these are the results that we just got from Nano Banana Pro. And then, so you can see the hero shot is pretty nice. All of these shots are pretty nice and they're pretty much good enough to be final assets. So next up, we're going to take these shots and then put them into Seedance nodes for the videos. So I'm going to use Seedance 2 just because it's the best video model by far. And so I'm just going to drag these green lines out and drop them and then search for Seedance 2. I'm going to do all 3 of them. Seedance 2. And now I'm actually going to run them in Weavy just because it's so much more expensive than every other platform. And so if we were to create these clips in Weavy, all we would have to do is drag this prompt box out again and then go back to our Claude Code and generate the motion prompts. So we would just do this 3 times, dragging the prompts out, and then we just go back to Claude and say, hey, can you please generate the 3 motion prompts for each of the product images? And then the actual last step is not even possible in Weavy because they don't have a video editing node. The best that they have is a video concatenator, I think. So this one, you just add videos to it and then it puts them one after the other. But it looks like you can do more than one. But you can't edit the videos, you can't put B-roll in there, you can't put captions in there, that sort of thing. So we kind of hit a hard wall in Weavy. And it's also a lot of manual work because there's no APIs, there's no integrated agent stuff. And it's just generally a lot more manual work than the other 2 platforms. Next up, we have Magnific, previously Freepik Spaces. And the standout here is that they have a stock library of 250 million assets that you can feed straight into generations as reference images or videos. They also have live multiplayer, so you can share the canvas with your teammates and you can see their mouses moving around and changing stuff in real time. They also do have an API, which I previously had thought would let us create and run workflows via their Spaces workflow tool, but unfortunately it doesn't, and it only allows you to just create videos and images and upscale stuff directly through your Claude Code. So we'll just jump straight into it. I'm in Magnific and I'm using their Spaces tool, which is their version of an AI node-based canvas. And you can see they have a lot of different starting options. So you can start from scratch. You can go to their getting started section. They have templates, flows. Here you can see they have that stock library. You can start from uploaded images, and then they have just like fast buttons for image generator, video generator. And then they also have an AI assistant to help you craft prompts. But I'm going to actually show you the stock library. So we can jump into the stock library. And these are really great if you want to have a higher quality of AI image that don't look as AI. So we'll just keep looking through here, and I might find one we can use for our skin brief. So I'm going to use this one. I'm just going to click on that and click add. So that just brings it into the canvas as an image node here. So now we have that on the canvas that I can use this as a reference node. So this one off the bat looks quite a bit different than Weavy. So you have all the settings here on the left. Then on the node, you can see the actual node has the settings rather than being on the right like Weavy and Wireflow. So with this reference image, I'm just going to grab this and just drag it into the open. And we're going to use an image generator. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to click upload. And then I'm just going to select that product image that we used before. And then I'm going to connect this one to here as well. And so this is pretty much the same setup as we had in Weavy. All right, so now we want to bring in 2 more image generators. So I'm just going to right click, select image generator, and then do the same thing. And then I'm going to go into my Claude code and get a new prompt for this one, because now we're using a real reference image. So I'm just going to go to Claude code and just say, we can change the lifestyle application one. And I'm just going to grab this image, copy paste it into my actual Claude code so that it has the reference. So I'm going to write, want to use this as the second reference image for lifestyle application. Can you give me a new prompt? While that's running, I'm just going to copy paste these prompts in. So in Freepik, you actually paste the prompts into the image nodes themselves, which once you start to scale can get a bit annoying. But at that point, you can just also grab the text here and then connect it to a text box like this. And then that way you can connect one prompt to multiple image nodes or video nodes. I'm just going to delete that. So now we just have to connect our reference image to these two. All right, so our Claude just finished up and it's come back with a new prompt for deliverable 3. So I'm just going to grab this prompt here and I'm going to bring it into my Freepik image generator and just paste it in here. And then the next thing we need to do is just make sure that the image model that we want is selected. So I'm going to use GPT-2 for this one because it's just slightly better than Nanobanana Pro in general. And then I'm just going to make sure that it's 9 by 16 so that we get a portrait image. And then I'm going to hit run. Then I'm just going to come down to these ones. I'm going to leave this one on auto, see what type of output we get, but I'm going to set it to 9 by 16, hit run. And then I'm just going to do the same for this one, 9 by 16, and then hit run. All right, so it's about 2 minutes later and all 3 of my images have finished generating, and you can see this one is the one we used the double reference image on, and it's like by far the highest quality one that we've had. Everything looks completely real, and that's because we started with an actual real stock reference image. So that's the best way to kind of get a real looking AI image, is to start with a real image and then use like a GPT-2 or Nanobanana Pro to edit in your product and then kind of edit the background and small details. And then we can see here the auto ones have finished generating as well. And they're both also really high quality. So we can also see that it just decided to use CGM5 Pro. It's nailed all the small details there. And then this one also here is also really cool and high quality. So next we're going to do the video models. So I'm just going to drag from this node here out into the open and drop it and then select video generator. Then in my video generator, I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to look for CDance. So CDance 2, I'm going to select that. And we want 720p. You can turn sound off or on. I'm just going to turn it off. And I'm going to put it to 9 by 16 and then do 7 seconds. And then I'm going to go back into my VS Code now and then ask it for the motion prompts. Great. Can you please now generate 3 motion prompts for these images so I can use Seedance 2.0 to animate them? Claude just got back to me with the new prompts. So we have the hero push in, texture macro, and then the lifestyle portrait. And I'm just going to copy and paste these across. So this one is the hero one, so it'll be this one. I just have to bring in a video generator. I'm going to paste the prompt in here. CDance 2 is already selected, 9 by 16. Looks like it brought over our settings from this one. So I'm just going to click on run and then accept and continue. And then I'm going to do the same for this one, video generator. and then I'll come and grab the texture macro prompt, then click run. Then I'll grab the third one and then paste it in here, and then also click run. Seedance 2 just finished, and it took about 3 minutes for all of these outputs here. And so we can just make this a bit larger by clicking on the open preview. So you can see this is pretty much exactly what we're after. It's using the reference image, animating it nicely. Make this one bigger. That's just made the same one bigger. There we go. Awesome. So all of these outputs are pretty nice. This one seems to have done the wrong movement, although that's a Seedance 2 issue, not a Magnific one. And then this is kind of where we get stuck again with Magnific, because if you try and grab this video and edit it within the platform, so you can drag this out, there's no video editing node. They just have a video combining node, which you can use to just combine all the videos, but there's no specific video editing node. So we'd have to drag these videos, we'd have to download these videos, export them into Premiere Pro or upload them into CapCut or something like that if you wanted to do actual video editing. So that's kind of where we hit a roadblock with Magnific. So Magnific actually started as Freepik, which was a stock image site, and then about 2 years ago they pivoted into AI, and they started as a consumer AI tool. So they have a bunch of different AI tools here that are all kind of disconnected, and they only more recently introduced Spaces, which is their node-based workflow tool. So it's just not going to have the same level as polish as a Weavy or a Wireflow, whose main product is the node-based workflow tool. Last up, we have Wireflow, and this one was actually the clear winner for me because it handles the entire process of brief to delivered assets, and I didn't even have to build the workflow. Claude actually built it for me from just the brief alone, and I'll show you exactly how that works in a minute. It also has a full API and MCP already built, so I can have my creative director, Fable 5, actually build, edit, and run the workflow. It also has multiplayer and automations already built in, so you can share that with your team and you can see their mouses moving around on the canvas. And it also has the same entry price as the other two, with a few outliers actually making Wireflow cheaper. So for example, Seedance 2 is cheapest on Wireflow. We'll just jump straight into the Wireflow workflow now. So this is my dashboard, so you can see all of my workflows are here. Then you can see all of the templates are here. And if we click on one of these, it'll load the template and you can kind of see the about section, how it works, a tutorial if it has one, and then it has like the preview. So you can just click open in Wireflow and then you can clone this workflow and use it for yourself. But for this, we're just going to click on new file and I'm going to show you the UI. And then we'll actually go straight into Claude Code after this and have Claude Code build the whole workflow for us. So this is what you see when you click new project. And this actually is an agent that Wireflow has where you can describe your workflow and it will build it out right in front of you. So I'm just going to type in simple image generator to give you an example of what it looks like. And then we'll go into building the actual workflow. There you go. So it's just gone ahead and it's piped up a prompt into an image generator and then into a preview node. And the preview node doesn't make sense for this because it's mostly useful when you have like 5 different image nodes and then they're all getting fed into the preview node. And then you can just open the preview node and click through them all. So I'll just delete that for now. But now we have essentially the same setup as we had in Weavy and Freepik, but getting there was just a lot easier. And then on the left here, you can see all of the node types. So you have quick access, text, import, preview, toolbox. So video editor, that's the one that's going to be useful for us in this. And then we have other general ones like enhance prompt, run code, text iterators. And then down the bottom, you'll see all the image, video, audio, vector, and 3D nodes. So there's a couple of ways we can build this workflow. Firstly, we can just right click anywhere and then type in Seedance, and then that'll bring in a Seedance node. And then we can connect it to our Nano Banana Pro as the first frame. And then secondly, we can go back into this AI assistant here and just ask it to add a Seedance node and pipe it. And we can just ask it to also add like 3 image generators, and then we can ask it to make all the prompts as well. But the way we're going to do it is through Claude Code. But firstly, I'll just explain kind of a bit more about the nodes. So if you click on a node, it's going to open up this right panel here. And this panel has all of that node specific settings. So for Nano Banana Pro, you can change the aspect ratio, you can enable web search, etc. And then for Seedance 2, the settings are going to be different because it's a different model. So here you can select the version, you can select Seedance fast or mini or 1.5. Then you can do the aspect ratio, the duration, and then the resolution, and then obviously the audio. So that mostly covers the basics of the canvas. And if you wanted to just use it as a canvas, it works really well. But the reason I picked Wireflow for my brief to generated assets and just for my agency work in general is because I can use it straight from Claude Code. And that means that I can use Fable 5 to understand the entire brief, use all of my skills, and then generate the workflow itself. So before we set up our Claude Code, we need to grab our Wireflow API, and you can find that in your Wireflow dashboard, which I'll show you now. So I'll just click on my username here, and then settings, and then API keys, and then you can just click on create new key. And then once you have that new key, I usually just paste it into my Claude Code and say, please set up the Wireflow API. And then I'll also give it this API overview, which you can find at wireflow.ai/docs/API/overview. So I'm back in Claude Code now, and I have my API in my .env file here. And this is where Claude Code can become really powerful because we have all of these brand documents here, and then we also have this Wireflow workflow skill. So my Claude Code is specifically set up to be able to create good workflows. So now I'm just going to type in, can you please now create a Wireflow workflow using the API that has all of these image steps and the video step and has a upload node for me to add the reference image, please. So Claude just came back to me and it said the workflow is live with this ID, and that's the name, and then it's explained the graph that it's built. And so I just saw a few issues with this. So before we even open the link, we're just going to do a few edits. So the first one is it's including 2 upload nodes. And the reason for that is that we used the second reference image on the Magnific example. And that's just up here in the exact same chat. So it's got the context from the previous workflows that we built. And then the second one is that it's using Nano Banana Pro. So I've just written, please only have one upload node, as the second one was an example from Magnific. And then I've written, please use GPT-2 for the main lifestyle image. And then I've also put, include another seedance node for the 15-second AI UGC clip, and then create the prompt for that. And then I've also written, also connect that deliverable clip into a video editor node so that we can add edits once I've run the workflow. Claude just finished up saying all 4 changes are in and the revised workflow is live. Then it's just gone through and listed all the changes there, and then a few honest flags. And then I just wrote, give me the flow link, please. So it's just come back and it's given me the link, and I'll just click on that. All right, so here you can see it generated the entire workflow. So this is where we're going to upload our image, and then that image gets sent to a router. And then this router goes to all 3 of the image nodes here, and then it gets sent also to that UGC ad clip in Seedance there. And so it looks like it's kind of nailed this workflow now. So I'm just going to upload the image and start running the nodes. And you can come in here and you can also like just revise all of the prompts. There shouldn't be any issues with the prompts because we already ran them in Magnific and in Weavy as well. And then this is the only new prompt here. So this is the UGC ad video prompt. So this is going to be the prompt that's going to generate the UGC 15-second ad with that viral script. And you can see just here, okay, I'm not gatekeeping this anymore. It looks like that's the hook for the first 2 seconds, which seems like a pretty good viral potential hook. So now we have our image in and it's routed. I'm just going to start running all these nodes. And I'm just going to run this one as well. I'll just make sure that the settings are all correct. So 9:16, 15 seconds, audio is off, and it's doing 1080p. So we want to put that down to like 720p so we don't burn through all our credits. And we definitely want the audio on so we can hear her talking. Okay, so all of the images and the video have just finished generating. You can see they're all quite high quality. It's the exact same prompt and the exact same image model, so it's going to be just as good on either platform. But it just makes it a whole lot easier when you have Claude Code and Fable 5 setting up the entire workflow for you, including the prompts. And for this one specifically, I have a viral UGC research skill. So that goes out and it finds viral UGC, downloads it, transcribes it, and then it just grabs all of the viral hooks. So this hook here was actually generated with that skill, which I also include in the description. So that turned out really good, and you can see it looks really realistic and has like a pretty natural script from that viral skill. So next I'm just going to click run on all of these video outputs here, and I'm just going to change the resolution again so we don't burn through too many credits. So this one I actually decided to use Kling. Kling's just a bit more affordable, especially if you're doing stuff that's not like doesn't have crazy motion in it. So I'm just going to click run on all of these. And after this, I'll show you how we can use the video editor to add captions. So the Seedance and the Kling video models just finished up, and we can see the outputs here. So I've just also fed them into this preview node here, so we can come here and click on this magnifying glass, and we can just click through all of them on the side here and do a quick review. I also added this Gemini Omni Flash node here next to the Kling one so that we could do a side-by-side review of the motion and the quality of the two models. So you can see that Kling kind of has a more natural, better skin tone, and then Gemini Omni Flash just has a bit more movement and variety. And that just comes down to like your preferences and what you think the client would prefer there. Okay, so that's the entire workflow end to end. And the last step is just the video editing on the UGC ad clip. And on the other two platforms, on Figma Weave and Magnific, you'd have to export all of these AI assets and then import them into an actual video editor. Whereas on Wireflow, they have their own video editor node, which we can use through Claude Code to do all of the editing. So in Claude Code, I'm just going to write a prompt that says, great, I ran all the nodes and would now like to add captions to the UGC ads and edit an outro frame to the end of the video that just has a clear shot of the product and the brand name above it aesthetically. And then I wrote, can you please use the video editor node to do this? All right, so Claude just got back to us and it said the edit is built and saved into your workflow's video editor node. And then it's come back with scene 1 is added, captions are added, and then scene 2, the outro is also added. So we'll just jump back into Wireflow. So this is the finished output, and I'll just press play here.
Okay, I'm not gatekeeping this anymore. It's a clarifying serum from a tiny Brisbane brand. It's the only thing I've added to my routine this year that I've actually kept. And the bottle is really pretty, which doesn't hurt. They launched this month.
There we go. So it's super basic edits, but you can just go back and forth with your Fable to do all sorts of like high quality edits. You can add more scenes, you can add captions, starting scenes. You can even add animations or like motion graphics pretty much. And so if we click edit here, we're going to see in the timeline exactly what it's done. So it's added the scene 2 here with this little fade to bring it in. And if you click on that, you can see more information here as well. So this video editor node has completely replaced CapCut and Premiere Pro for me in my process, because once this video editor node is in the workflow and it's learned the type of edit for this workflow, I can just come back to this workflow with my Fable 5 workspace and I can give it a whole new brief. Then it's going to have this workflow already. So it's going to have context of this workflow. Then it's going to go through, change all the prompts, change all the settings on the nodes to make sure that they fit the new brief. And then it's going to also come into the video editor and change the specific editing style so that it matches what is in that client brief exactly. So it's pretty obvious that the future is going to be humans and agents working together. This diagram is exactly what each canvas lets you do. So Figma Weave, pretty much nothing, completely manual, and it's the most expensive one. Magnific, you can't actually trigger a publish flow. That was just what I first thought you could do. Magnific just lets you call individual models through the API. And then Wireflow lets me build, edit, run, and fetch the outputs, which is extremely powerful because I've built my entire agency brain inside of a Claude Code repo. So it has context of all my company's guidelines, creative directions, brand voice, and workflow preferences. And as I continue to work with Wireflow inside of Claude, it's just going to get more and more powerful because it's going to keep learning and improving, making my process even faster and more refined. So in my opinion, it's the canvas that an agent is able to operate. That's the one that's going to win in the next 5 years. Like I mentioned earlier, each of these platforms have the same underlying models. So if you use Seedance 2 on Weavy or Magnific or Wireflow, you're going to get the exact same results, but they're just going to come at a different price. So on this page, you can see I've done a little breakdown of what it costs to run Seedance 2.0 at 720p, and this is price per second. So if you do a 5-second Seedance 2 video on Weavy, it's going to cost you $1.45, whereas on Magnific it's 90 cents and on Wireflow it's 85 cents. So if we drag this up to like 60 seconds, you can see that a 60-second video on Wireflow is going to be $10, whereas on Weavy it's going to be $7 more expensive. And then on Magnific it's only 60 cents more expensive. So I'd say these two pretty much the same, but Weavy is definitely a lot more expensive, at least for this specific video model. And each different model is going to have a different price. I just chose this one as it's the most powerful video model at the moment. And this is a breakdown of the real cost. So each of these platforms has credits pricing. So this is after I've done the maths on the premium, professional, and professional plans on each of these platforms, and then I've divided it by the credits per dollar, and then translated it into an actual real dollar amount. So which one should you actually use? So if your team lives inside of Figma already, and you want a polished, easy to use canvas with pixel level node editing, then I'd suggest Figma Weave. If you're a marketing team and you want a super deep stock library, then I'd definitely suggest Magnific. But if you run real client work, or you just want to future-proof your team's creative process, then I'd definitely suggest Wireflow. Everything you just watched me build, I'll include a link to it in the description, including the workflow template link, and also a link to my agency work repo, which includes all of the setup to create your company's creative direction, prompt style, and voice docs within Claude Code.